7 steps of moral reasoning. But before that, here's the learning objectives. Number 1 is to understand the different steps of moral reasoning model and apply the 7 steps of moral reasoning in decision making. The 7 steps of moral reasoning was developed by Scott Race. It is a structured approach to moral decision making, and according to Ray, this model emphasizes what virtues and moral principles while also considering the consequences of our action. And what's more important about this model is that it is designed to be free from cultural, ethnic, or religious biases, so meaning it can be applied universally in different contexts, so we can use it universally. So this model also will help us to think critically and act ethically regardless of our personal or cultural biases. So here's the 7 steps of moral reasoning model. So number 1 is to gather the facts. Number 2, determine the social issues. Number 3, determine what virtues, principles have a bearing on the case. Number 4 is to list the alternatives. Number 5, compare the alternatives with the virtues and principles. Number 6, consider the consequences. And number 7, make a decision. Let's discuss first the number 1, which is to gather the facts. So the first steps in moral reasoning is to gather the facts. So before deciding whether something is right or wrong, we must make sure that we fully understand the situation. So for example, imagine you see your co-worker leaving work early several times a week. So you might quickly assume that that co-worker is lazy or not fulfilling their duties, but if you gather the facts, you might discover that their supervisor actually allowed them to leave early because they start work earlier than others. So this shows that the importance of understanding the full story before judging. So many situations that seems unethical at first can be clarified once we have all the information. So it is very important to gather the facts first before judging. So before gathering the facts, we might consider these questions. Number 1, do you have the facts that are necessary to make a good decision? What do we know? What do we need to know? In this light, we might become clear that the dilemma is not ethical but about communication or strategy. The second step is to determine the ethical issues involved. So this means identifying what moral values or principles are in the conflict. So for example, imagine you accidentally receive an extra change from a cashier who didn't notice their mistake. So you might be tempted to keep that since it is not a large amount, but also need po to nimo ang extra money, but you also know that it's not yours. In this case, the ethical issues is the conflict between self-interest and honesty. So you can choose between ikip to nimo siya kay kailangan nimo, or you need to return the money to the owner kay kabalo ka nga it is bad. So recognizing this conflict can help us clearly understand the moral challenges before deciding what to do.
So now we're going to move on to step 3, which is determine what virtues or principles apply. So this step, we're going to ask what moral values are being tested. Is it honesty? Is it respect? Is it kindness, fairness, or loyalty? So we must identify which virtues or principles matter the most in a specific situation. So let's say you have accidentally saw your best friend's partner in the mall with someone else. Should you tell your friend or stay quiet? So in that situation, the virtues there could be honesty and loyalty. So the honesty would pushes you to tell the truth, but loyalty makes you cautious about hurting your friend's feelings. You must decide which virtue is more important at that moment. So now we're going to move on to step 4. List the alternatives. So once you understand the values involved, I want you to list down all the possible actions you can take. Don't rush to one solution. The more alternatives you list, the better chances of finding the wise decision. So for example, you have found $500 bill or 500 peso bill. Your options could be keep it and give it to the faculty or the staff, or you could say wait for someone to ask if you have some money or if they have lost the money, or we could say you want to keep it and stay quiet. So writing all these choices helps you which are moral, which are risky, and which align with your values. So now let's move on to step 5, which is compare the alternatives with the virtues or principles. Now that you have options, you need to compare each one with your moral values. Which options respects honesty, fairness, or compassion the most? Which one violates them? So for example, we're going to use the 500 peso case. So keeping it might break the virtue of honesty, but by giving it to the teacher or the staff or the faculty, supports integrity. Or by waiting for someone to claim it, shows fairness and responsibility. So you see how many choices align more with moral values than others. This step often narrows down your decisions to one or two strong options. So now let's have step 6. Consider the consequences. If principles still don't give you a clear answer, think about the results of each choice. Every decision has both good and bad consequences. Our job is to weigh them carefully. So let's say you are supposed to decide whether to report a classmate who cheated during an exam. So you have the choices. If you report them, they might fail or they will going to get in a big trouble or a huge trouble. So that's painful for your friend, but it could teach them a lesson and promote fairness in the class. If you stay quiet, you could protect your friendship, but you allow dishonesty to continue. So you see, you think not only about what's right in principle, but what will lead to the most responsible and fair outcome for everyone. Okay, now let's have the final step, which is make a decision, step 7. This is where you take action after gathering the facts, identifying values, comparing options, and thinking about the outcomes. It's time to decide. So remember, even the right decisions can still feel painful. Moral choices often come with sacrifice, but what matters most is that you made your choice thoughtfully and with integrity. So you have finally decided to report the cheating incident to your teacher privately. It may hurt your friend, but it upholds honesty and fairness. You didn't do it to harm your friend, but to help them realize the importance of doing the right thing. And that would be all for my part. Thank you.